BNP Paribas Wealth Management is proud to partner with the entrepreneurs on Monocle Radio. Confronted by complexity, you need a financial partner you can trust that will protect your assets and strive to meet your expectations. BNP Paribas Wealth Management is the bank for entrepreneurs in a changing world. Head to wealthmanagement.bnp Paribas now for guidance on starting your journey. You're listening to Eureka on Monocle Radio, brought to you by the team behind The Entrepreneurs, the show all about inspiring people, innovative companies, and fresh ideas in global business. I'm Tom Edwards. Andrew Flynn is the founder and designer of Potr, a smart line of flat-pack, self-watering plant pots made from waste materials. Andrew's also a lecturer in product design and mechanical engineering, skills that certainly proved invaluable when he set out to launch the business. Like many of us, Andy embraced indoor gardening during lockdown, only to become somewhat frustrated by the oversized boxes, wasteful packaging, and fragile pots arriving at his door. This all sparked the idea for a more sustainable alternative, origami-inspired plant pots that could be posted through letterboxes with a dramatically reduced carbon footprint. So, how do you go about raising the capital needed for a business during a global pandemic? And how do you make plants self-water? Well, here is Andy with more on how the journey began.
Potr began in response to a kind of situation which happened basically during COVID. So I had been growing out my urban jungle at home, which I think a lot of people did during that time period. And I had ordered some traditional plant pots online. Now these pots, I ordered 3. They arrived in a really oversized kind of large cardboard box to the front door. And when I opened up that, there was basically, first of all, met with copious amounts of bubble wrap inside. So all this kind of single-use waste. And then opened up the bubble wrap, and to my dismay, 2 of the 3 plant pots were smashed to 1,000 pieces. Now, with the kind of putting the engineering hat on and looking at this from a kind of point of view of sustainability, it seemed like there was an awful lot of waste trying to get these very, very simple objects to my front door. So how this whole thing started was actually conducting what's called a life cycle analysis or a life cycle assessment, which basically looks at the carbon footprint of a product throughout its life cycle. And what this showed was that up to 20% of the carbon footprint of this very, very simple object, a plant pot made of, say, ceramic or concrete, comes from simply trying to ship them from A to B. So this was kind of like a really crazy finding that is really what kind of kickstarted the whole process and design thinking behind Potr as a brand and as a product. So essentially what happened was, in response to that, we had this hypothetical question of, to try and lower the carbon footprint during transit, what if you could fit a plant pot inside an envelope that you could then post directly to the customer's letterbox? And before designing anything, we reran the numbers on the carbon footprint analysis, and it showed that you could actually cut the carbon footprint with this one design change by over 100 times by simply going flat pack. This kind of was like this light bulb moment where we're like, oh my goodness, this is really cool. It's kind of data-driven design. Perhaps we can build, reinvent a product which has not fundamentally changed in form factor in 5,000 years. So that's how the whole process started. And what that led to is Potr Pots, which was our first product, which are essentially flat-pack, self-watering plant pots made from waste materials. Probably our number one question when anyone ever sees the product is like, how on earth does it do that? And it is quite magical. So self-confessed killer of houseplants, which a lot of people maybe don't know or don't expect, given I run a brand that makes products which help your plants. But I was really bad at keeping my plants alive. And in this whole process, once we kind of figured out that we could actually lower the carbon footprint using our kind of flat pack methodologies, we then looked at, okay, well, what else can we do to add value to our customers and for people who want to have a houseplant collection, but that might be very busy or travel a lot. So we started looking into ways and means of self-watering, and basically the way our product works, the most efficient method we came up with was using capillary action. So in our product, there's a reservoir of water in the base, and the capillary wicking cord transfers water from the reservoir into the soil surrounding your plant, and that enables your plant to actually self-regulate its water intake for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. So if you go on holiday or you happen to be forgetful like me, then you put it in one of these and it does it for you. So it's a very simple but very, very effective way of caring for your plants. We actually, like quite a few brands I know these days, started on Kickstarter, the online crowdfunding platform. Once we had the idea, the development of the design of the product probably only took 4 months to get to a kind of beta-ready product. So we did the initial Kickstarter to kind of test the idea, and we asked for a pretty modest amount of like £600, which in Kickstarter terms is tiny, right? Within 20 days, we'd raised about £30,000. So it was like this insane response. We were like, oh my goodness, like this is crazy. In fact, to the point which, because of the success of it, we actually hadn't really thought through how do we deliver and scale that initial design. Because believe me, the initial design was not designed for scale. It was like a bit crafty. And so we had this really funny situation where we'd promised, it was I think October when the campaign finished, and we'd promised the backers that they would receive the product for Christmas that year, right? Which is also a ridiculous timescale. So we were like determined to deliver on that promise. So we actually ended up hiring, I think we hired 6 or 7 close mates that were either between jobs or had just graduated, a few of them also from product design. And they moved into our apartment or to Airbnbs nearby. And we had this hilarious DIY production line that we created to actually deliver these products in time. And I always refer to it as, it was like type 2 fun, the type of fun which actually was not fun at the time. It was horrible because it was stressful and we were trying to deliver, with a really tight deadline. But when you look back on it, we had some really good memories doing that first batch. So that's how we got the initial funding to then get things up and running. But we didn't officially launch the brand until September 2021. Initially, we were online only for the first year, and we saw really kind of rapid expansion on just kind of direct consumer. And then we started obviously getting a lot of interest from retailers. So we started selling into retailers in the UK, loads of independents. We now have about 400 stockists in and around the UK. Just after we launched our pots, I approached Bloom & Wild to basically, I'd identified a potential opportunity for them, which was that they were selling flat pack flowers, but they were still selling traditional glass vases. Now, I don't know about your letterbox, but you would struggle to fit through a glass vase through my letterbox. So we approached them to say, would you be interested in a flat pack vase to go inside your flowers, minimizes carbon footprint during delivery, minimizes your cost, and the customers are guaranteed to receive it. And that basically led to a kind of 12-month development partnership, which we created, the kind of world's first flat pack letterbox vase, which they now sell, or they offer with every single one of their letterbox flower bouquets. So actually unlocking that opportunity helped us kind of take the next step change in terms of scaling up. We also won a kind of funding award in Scotland called Scottish Edge, which unlocked about 100 grand grant funding, which really enabled us to kind of start taking next steps. And more laterally, export has been huge for us. So at the start of this year, we actually launched in Japan off the back of a lot of interest from there because of the origami connection. So it was a kind of quite an obvious target market for us. And that's been wonderful. We've secured distribution there and we're kind of beginning to scale up our presence in Japan itself. Yeah, and the US has currently launched plans there and the EU. So it's all go. We've got huge plans for Potr. Like we've started as a case study in terms of minimizing the carbon footprint of a product. One of my passions, and I guess everyone that now works in Potr are very interested in the world of not just growing ornamental plants like house plants and flowers, but actually other things that you can grow at home, including your own food. So what I'm excited about in the future is some of the innovations we're working on, which are taking Potr into new territories and kind of unlocking new ways of allowing people to grow more efficiently and growing incredibly nutritious food, which can help promote health and just the joy of growing. So 2025 is going to be big for us in that way. The crazy things about running a startup, you kind of never switch off. You just always go. And running a brand that makes origami plant pots is quite niche, but it's amazing. I love it and I wouldn't do anything else.
That was Andrew Flynn, the founder and designer of Potr, and you can learn more about the business by heading on over to potr.co. And that's all for this episode of Eureka. We'll be back at the same time next week. Do look out for the latest episode of The Entrepreneurs every Wednesday. Eureka's produced by Laura Kramer with audio editing by Jack Dewars. You can listen again and find out more at the website monocle.com. That's where you can also join the club and subscribe to Monocle magazine. To contact the team, email Laura on lrk@monocle.com. I'm Tom Edwards. Goodbye and thanks for listening to Eureka. BNP Paribas Wealth Management is proud to partner with the entrepreneurs on Monocle Radio. Confronted by complexity, you need a financial partner you can trust that will protect your assets and strive to meet your expectations. BNP Paribas Wealth Management is the bank for entrepreneurs in a changing world. Head to wealthmanagement.bnpparibas now for guidance on starting your journey.